Hello, and welcome back to Season 5, Episode 7 of Wine Down Wednesday with my Lady of the Week. Look at y'all coming on in the wine room. Hey, hello, everyone, and welcome back. Hi. All right, guys, this evening's live is titled, When and Why Should I Hire a Publicist? Because Lord knows some of y'all could use one. Hey, yeah, I'm taking it back. Man, Whitney Houston. When I tell y'all I love me some Whitney Houston, you could not tell me I was not Whitney Houston when she came out in 1985. But that's another story for another time, y'all. All right, let's see who's coming on in the wine room. Let me say hello. Hey, Charlene Austin. Hey, lady. Let's see who else is here. Tiana _Louise. Hello. Welcome to the wine room. Is that Billings, Leac? I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'll just spell it out for everyone. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the wine room. We're going to let some other people come on in here as we prepare for my Lady of the Week. As I was telling you guys, this week's live is titled, When and Why Should I Hire a Publicist? But before we get into that, y'all know I have to give my shout outs to my makeup artist, Mr. Alex. That's M-U-A Alex with 2 X's. Y'all show him some love on Instagram, please. And also to my hairstylist, Miss Lanny B, the stylist. She hooked me up because when I went into her salon this morning, it wasn't pretty, but I came out looking like a whole new woman. So thank you, girl. All right, you guys, I am just waiting for my Lady of the Week, Miss Phyllis Cadell, to join us here in the wine room. As soon as she pushes her button, I will bring her in. But you guys know the drill. Let's make sure we raise our glasses. Cling. Take a sip. Because if you don't take a sip, then it didn't happen. And look at y'all coming on in. Hey, Nichelle Travis. Hey, lady. Hey, Dana Cadell. That's Phyllis's sister, y'all. She's joining us in the wine room, too. All right, I'm going to bring Miss Phyllis Cadell. She's an author. She's an adjunct instructor. And, like I said, a publicist. A real live Olivia Pope, y'all, coming on to the wine room. So give me 1 second, and I'm going to bring her in. I'm so excited. Give me 1 second, guys. But y'all, sip on your wine. Sip on your wine while she comes on in here, y'all. Don't let that wine go to waste. It's Wine Down Wednesday. Ooh, hey. Hey. There you go. Hey, there you go.
Hey, y'all.
Phyllis.
Hi,
Latanya. You said it right, girl. You said it right. Hey, lady. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just a little. I don't know. Can you turn maybe your volume up just a little bit more?
It's all the way
up. Okay, that's cool. No, we're going to roll with it. Well, welcome to the wine room. The wine room, finally, Miss Phyllis Cadell.
You know what? Okay. Thank you. You finally got me on here. Am I okay?
Look, y'all in the audience don't know. This has been about 1.5 years in the making, and I finally got it, y'all. So a round of applause. Whoa. I'm so excited. If you can't tell. All right, so before we get into our conversation, Miss Phyllis, you know how this thing works. Where's your wine glass?
I do have a wine glass.
What you got? I know what you got. What you about to pull out, Phyllis? Clink.
Cling.
Make sure you take your sip. What's in your glass? That looks like a smoothie.
Banana, cherry, blueberry, smoothie.
I knew it. We'll take a sip anyway. Oh, that's good.
This is like,
take another sip of that. That was really good.
This is the first thing I've had all day.
Oh, that's good. That's Stella Rosa something I got or another. Oh, that's good. Okay, Miss Phyllis Cadell, if you would, for everyone, please introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and where you are from.
You know what? This is so funny because I can introduce everybody else but myself. I don't talk about myself very well, but my name is Phyllis Cadell. I've been a publicist for like 26 years. I'm from Los Angeles. I still live in Los Angeles. I'm an author. I'm an adjunct college professor. I'm a ghostwriter. And I'm just, I'm just PC, man. That's me.
And the list goes on and on and on. Well, once again, welcome to the wine room, Phyllis. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am too.
All right, so girlfriend, let's go on and get into this right now. So as you stated, you've been a publicist for more than 25 years. Prior to being a publicist, you worked for some record labels and some entertainment companies as a publicist. And then in 1995, you decided to go out on your own. So if you could, before we get into the other part of our conversation, walk me through that. What gave you the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for myself?
I'll tell you right now, what scared me and well, first of all, in corporate America, well, back then, when you're in a job, and if you're not like the top publicist in the department, or if you're not like, they normally when they have layoffs, they lay off like the creatives. So they lay off like people in the publicity department. And if you're not like one of the VPs or whatever, then you're out of there. So I worked for a lot of entertainment companies, but when, the budgets were split or whatever, we were gone. So it was just like, okay, you know what? The last job I worked, I was at Death Row Records.
I knew it was Death Row. I couldn't remember which record company it was, but I knew it was Death Row. Okay.
Well, that was the one that
right. Okay.
Yeah, that was the one that I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. Like when I started going in the bathroom and praying that I'd be okay when I came out of the bathroom. And it was just a lot of stuff, and I'm just really like, I'm a lot like you. I kind of like march to the own beat of my drum, and I just did not like taking direction. And I finally said, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this. The last time I was laid off, I was just like, I'm done. And so I started from my bedroom. Like I said, with $500 in a prayer. Wow. And my first client was Tommy Ford.
Okay, so hold on. So before you get into that, because I was going to ask you about that. So okay. So for the audience, you guys don't know, but Phyllis and I have known each other for many, many, many years. I know I only look 25, but yes, we probably met about 25 years ago, right? And I remember you landing Tommy as your client. So for those of you who don't know who Tommy Ford is, maybe you've been living under a rock, but he played Tommy on the show Martin. Yeah. And he became one of your first clients. So how did that even come about?
Man, I don't even remember how I met Tommy. I think I met Tommy. Broderick Rice. I met Tommy through Broderick Rice, who was actually my client. Comedian Broderick Rice. Met Tommy, went to his house for a reading. He was on a TV reading, and I just came as a guest and whatever. We hit it off, and he needed a publicist, and Broderick wanted to, you should bring him on, get him, blah, blah, blah. So that's how it happened. But it was so funny because he was so cheap. Tommy was so cheap. But the thing is,
his character, like on the show, he was very frugal on the show.
Tommy was so giving, was so cheap. But I knew that if I landed him as a client, that he would open doors for me. And that's exactly what happened. So he was my first client, and he was the first. When I booked him on the Oprah Winfrey show, that's when it just.
Did y'all hear that? The Oprah Winfrey show when she booked
I booked Tommy Ford on the Oprah Winfrey show. Yeah, so, I was so excited because I really thought we were going to go to Chicago, but they taped out here. I was like, oh, I did meet her, but that's how it all happened. And he was he was encouraging, and he would tell me when I was doing things wrong and doing things right, or if he didn't. And I loved that because he was kind of like coaching me, because I was just kind of like floating. I didn't know anything about launching a PR company or anything. So I was just kind of like learning on the way. And I think he was like, yeah, that's why I'm not paying you, which I'm paying you how much I should. Because,
but he was worth his weight in gold, because that introduced you. And I think that's a really important lesson that you just said, because I think oftentimes when people are getting started, they want the big top dog.
Yeah.
They want all
Yeah.
of that, and they don't understand that there are steps. And sometimes, like you did, when you align yourself with the right person, maybe not for the money that you want at that time, especially starting out. You know, that it leads to other opportunities. So Phyllis, in a nutshell, or in layman's terms, what is a publicist? Because we hear it all the time. My publicist, my publicist. What is a publicist?
My publicist. A publicist is someone who is that, I say it's kind of like the liaison for the client and the public. It's so hard for me to explain. That's so funny. It's a publicist is someone who gets you out there, gets your brand out there, to the public. We shape you, inform you, and to make you presentable for the public. And so basically we put you in the public and we relate to the public in a nutshell.
Got you. So why should I hire a publicist? And then when do I need to hire a publicist?
Well, you know what? You should hire a publicist when you have something to say, if you have a story, if you have news, if you want to increase your audience. Let's say you've been in an audience, you know, like, hey lady, your brand. You've done a lot, you've pretty much plateaued. And so you need a publicist. Let's say you didn't have one at the time you started Hey Lady, and you needed a publicist to get you over that hump and expand your audience. So you would need a publicist for that. I think people need publicists for anything you want to put out there and you want people to know about it. That's when you need a publicist.
So as a new brand, like you did for me. So for those of you who don't know, you know, Phyllis was very, very instrumental in helping Hey Lady develop a digital footprint, if you will. You were able to get me placed in different publications. I actually am a cover girl. Thank you so much, Miss Phyllis Cadell, for that. So
international,
right? International. So, and I know that came from the relationships that you've been able to create throughout the years. So as a brand is getting started, is that something they should do when they get started? Is it something they should do as they've established themselves?
You should seek a public representative at least 6 months before you want to launch a product or whatever you're doing, because we have to get everything ready. We have to have the right tools. We have to have, you know, press releases written. We have to make sure you have right photos. We have to make sure your website is correct. We have to make sure your numbers are right on social media. We have to make sure that you are ready to go, because when we start pitching you, the first thing that a producer or an editor or whomever is going to do is go, oh, well, let me see, what have they done? Who are they? You know, do they have their stuff together? If you're new, okay, but if you have beautiful photos, you have a great story. We have to create stories. We have to, it's our job to make them want to, you know,
you're out there,
to feature you, to do whatever. So there's a lot to setting it up. And then we start putting you out there.
Okay, so as someone who's looking for a publicist, what should they be looking for? Like, what skills should the publicist have?
I'm sorry. Well, the skills a publicist should have, you have to write. You have to know how to write. That to me is that's crucial. Because if you have a publicist who can write, there are times when there are magazines who they don't have the bandwidth. They're interested in your client, but they just don't have anyone to interview you. Okay, so the publicist will write that story and get it placed for you. So I definitely, writing skills is like number one in my book. Number two is, you know, have someone who will represent you professionally. You know, you don't want someone who's calling or pitching and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, it's just not professional. It's you know, that's weird when I'm, let me stop right there. Okay. So you want someone who can represent you professionally, first of all.
Right.
The other thing is you want someone who's excited about your brand and who understands your brand. Because if they're excited about it and they understand it, they're going to pitch it with excitement, and they're going to sell it. They're going to sell you. If you have someone who's just bringing you on because they need a monthly payment, then that's not a good match, because everything is going to be just a little bland. You want someone who's going to make you stick out and really talk about you like they are your best friend. You also want someone who has great relationships, and you want someone who isn't afraid to think out of the box and do things and try to make their client look different and stand out from the rest.
So how does a person really vet for all of this?
Yeah.
Like, how do we know the relationships that the publicist has, or even, like you said, the writing? Because I know you've seen it time and time again where an artist or someone has made a statement, and you go to read that statement and you're like, who the hell wrote this statement? So how does a person really vet to find out whether this particular publicist would fit the criteria?
Interview your publicist. Interview your publicist. See if you know, contact some of their clients. See you know how they like them. It's just like you know, you have to interview your publicist. Don't just say, oh, I like what they did, or I see what they're doing with this person or with that person. Like, seriously, bring your questions, like a Q&A, because they might not be a good fit for you. It may be something that they thought, maybe, okay, I thought this was going to work, but it's not going to work. Or it could, you just have to watch. You have to watch, and you have to look at people who are in your industry, people who are doing the same thing as you. Not to compare, not to say, oh, I want to be like them, but just to see what type of placements and what the publicist did for them.
So earlier I mentioned Olivia Pope. So you guys know the name Olivia Pope from Scandal. And I think oftentimes when we think of a publicist, I mean, that's essentially what she was. She was the voice for the president and the fixer, right? Yeah. So when something is coming your way, and it could possibly be a scandal or something that could be negative for your client, well, what do you do? Crisis mode. What are you thinking? Like, what position are you coming from? How do you go into fixing that?
The first thing you do when your client, you know, a crisis is presented, you have to start thinking of messages that you're going to send out to the press and send out to that client's audience, which are called key messages. You want to have at least 3 or 4 for the media. So once it starts, you are consistent across the board. Everybody gets the same information. You know, if it was your client's fault, you want to make sure they apologize immediately. You write.
Okay, so hold up. Let me put a little pin in that real quick, because you know where I'm going with this since you brought it up. All right, so I'm gonna address that little elephant in the room, Mr. Will Smith. So if you were his publicist, with all of that went down, what would you have advised him to do initially?
I would have advised Will Smith to get on stage and apologize, not only to the Academy, but to apologize to Chris Rock. Okay. Immediately. Apologize, you know, pour your heart out, whatever it was, whatever the problem was, immediately. That was the mistake. The mistake was he accepted his award and he apologized, but he apologized to the Academy, and he talked about other things that was happening in his life, and this is what happened and the whole thing. You know, that wasn't good enough because he slapped Chris Rock.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, you know, you have this good guy who's worked so hard to keep his image, and now that one thing has blemished his image. Him waiting a couple of days and then tweeting an apology to me was unacceptable. It was unacceptable. You have to get it and, you know, hit it when it's right there, because people people don't feel like you really care, and it was like an afterthought. I'm not an afterthought. If you did something wrong to me, then I think you should apologize. Now, if it's the other way around and your client didn't do anything but was involved in something, sometimes it's good to speak out as well, because staying silent, sometimes people mistake that for being guilty, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two things, you know, you definitely admit you're wrong. You apologize. And then you try to rectify the problem. You put out statements to say what you will do to make it right, you know, to right that wrong. And people will.
So have you ever, oh, I'm sorry, what did you say, Phyllis? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So have you ever had a client who didn't want to take your advice and decided to do something on their own? How do you deal with that particular client?
Yes. Well, some have to let people just trip and fall.
Fall in the fire.
fall, get up and say, I'm sorry, but the damage is done. But then it's our job to clean that up. Whether or not we want to stick around, maybe at that point we want to part ways, because you hire a publicist for their expertise. You hire a publicist to tell you right from wrong, you know. And then when it gets to that point, sometimes it's time to say bye-bye. But either way, we're cleaning up. We're cleaning up because it looks bad for us. So we're still cleaning up regardless, you know.
Yeah, because your name gets tossed around in that as well.
Yeah, and I pride myself on my squeaky clean reputation, you know, of doing what I say I'm to do. So yeah, I'm funny about that.
So I know earlier you mentioned that when you first got started and you were working with Tommy, and that, you know, he didn't want to pay at that time. So
he didn't want to pay a lot.
He didn't want to pay a lot at that time. Not that he didn't want to pay you at all. Let me not put that out there. He didn't want to pay a lot at that time, right? So what, realistically, if a person's looking to hire a publicist, what's the budget? What should they be looking at on the low and the high end? And I guess it also would depend on the expertise of the publicist as well, right? Okay.
Yeah, because really you're paying for our connections, our contacts. You're paying for our skills, our expertise.
Say that again, because I don't think people understand how valuable those connections are.
Yeah, you're paying for our contacts, relationships. You're paying for our expertise. You're paying for, that's what you're paying for. I mean, because if you had those contacts and you could do that, you wouldn't need us. You're paying for our time. We put a lot of time and energy. Things just don't happen overnight. Nothing's like microwavable, you know. There are a lot of people vying for the same media outlets, the same platforms. And so you have to have, you know, someone who is that extra creative, you know, extra gung-ho, extra excited, the whole thing. So the low end, you know, it just depends on what the project is and who the client is. It really depends, but you have to, I would say budget between $3,500 to a good $7,500 a month.
Wow.
And at the minimum 4 months, if you want to see any type of result. I was going to
ask you that. Yeah, because people want instant results. And so you're saying at the minimum, you got to give it, you say 4 months?
You have to. You really have to. And sometimes longer than that. And a lot of times you'll hire a publicist and they do a lot of the work, but it all comes back, but it's long term because they're laying the foundation. Sometimes when things just don't happen immediately, they might happen down the line, even when you're not working with that person anymore. So you're laying the foundation a lot of times.
Yeah, no, because we still have stuff from a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, that's kind of circling back for the seeds that you were able to plant, you know, back then.
Exactly.
So definitely, you know, it's not microwavable. It's not going to happen overnight. No. You definitely have to plant the seeds. So who's your ideal client then? And what do you look for when because not only is someone looking to hire you, you're at the stage where you can say, I don't want to touch that. So who's the ideal client that you want? And then who is the client that you say, no, don't want any parts of that?
Yeah, well, the ideal client is a client who understands the process. They understand the process. process. They work hard. They understand the partnership that we collaborate. And they understand when overnight, and they understand what we need. The tool, a prime example is you.
Oh,
And I'm not
me?
saying that because, yes, you're the perfect client. No, because I never had to ask you, like, the photo. You understand. When you can always tell when a client does their research and tries to understand what a publicist does, because the more you understand what we do, the better we work together.
Right.
So, you always had your photo. Everybody knows you have a gang of photos. You always had your photos.
Mom, pictures? Me?
You think out the box.
Right.
You have a marketing mind. You understand the process, and you always look out to say, oh, what about this? And you weren't afraid to me, and even like collaborate or say, hey, what about this? We brainstormed, we worked together, we did this thing, so seriously, you were like one of ideal client.
Thank you, Phyllis.
An ideal client. Yeah. The other idea, well, I won't go into that, but I had a lot of really good clients, but I like clients who are proactive. They're proactive. They don't just sit back and say, okay, well, what you got for me? And you made every single interview. There were no excuses. There were no, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You put it on your calendar, and it was your job.
Yeah.
You understood.
For sure.
You understood the assignment.
Hello.
And so,
yeah,
those are the great type.
I'm not, Phyllis, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Clients, knowing that it is a collaboration. Yeah, you're paying me, but we still have to work. Uh-oh.
It's kind of going in and out, but it's okay.
No,
we're fine. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, but yeah, that's the ideal client. That is the ideal client.
And so again, when somebody is coming to you and they're asking you to be their publicist, you don't know these things initially, right? So is there some due diligence that you do on that person and their brand to see whether or not it's something that you want to take on?
Definitely. I interview them. I send them a questionnaire. We talk about their goals, like what kind of goals, long-term, short-term goals do you have? And then I reel them in so they're more realistic and explain the process. A lot of times people will sign a contract and say, I understand, and they really don't understand. I ask them if they understand what a publicist is. What's your objective? Why do you think you need a publicist? Find out exactly what they need, and I want to teach. I need to educate them so they know what they're getting into, and their expectations, and to make sure they're realistic. And if I don't think it's a good fit, it's just not a good fit.
So when do you know it's time to call it quits with a client?
You know what? Seriously, when you've exhausted everything, when you've done just about everything you can do, and you've saturated the market, and the client is, getting these hits, and they're I guess they're, if it's a product, the sales are going up, even though publicists aren't put in to help you sell. We're just here to get your brand out there, and then that will come. But when you've exhausted all outlets, and obviously, and there's kind of like, and then things start getting kind of old. Let's just say it's a new album, a new CD or whatever, or it's a new book. You can only promote that for so long until you can stop and go back to the drawing board, go back and recreate, because you can do that, because you can always recreate a brand and tell different stories. Take some time, come up with different angles, and come back out. Those are some things you can do, but a lot of people don't have that type of money just to, keep going and going and going. So when you've exhausted, the number one is when you've exhausted all platforms, basically. And it's time to just kind of like take a break.
Yeah, you just hit on something. So why is it important to repurpose your content then? Or can you do that? Like you said, you take a break and then you can kind of maybe repurpose it. Is it important to do that?
It's so important to repurpose your content because some people they get a great interview. It could be on a talk show, it could be in a magazine, it could be a podcast, it could be this. And they, after it's over, it's like, okay, that's it. That was great. What's next? No. You can recreate, you can take make it into a blog, you can make it into a podcast, you can turn it's so many ways. You can turn a feature story and split it up and make it into a blog. There's so many platforms, so many things you can do today. Never just take one interview, place it on the other things, you can place it on your website. You can even take the URL link to an interview, put it in your email signature, because you're still creating awareness. You're still creating that awareness. Put it
hold on, did y'all get that tip? Because that's something I have not been doing, so I will definitely make sure that I put that into my email signature for sure.
Put it on social media. Take the cover you have and different parts of the story, turn it into a video. There's so many ways that you can keep one interview going, like have a lifespan. It's crazy. Never just sit on one interview. Never.
Wow.
I still use some from last year.
Right?
Yeah.
Hold on for what. Okay, so real quick, I just want to go to the audience because it looks like somebody had a question here. This Twins Calvin said, is it possible to get a PR to do more than just get someone in a party or club? Well, honey, you haven't been listening to this whole interview if you ask that question.
Is it possible to get to, in addition to
that?
Is
it possible to get a person a PR to get, he said, is it possible to get a PR to do more than just get someone in a party or club? Did you hear me?
Yeah.
You kind of missed the whole interview. You're going to have to watch the replay because they do more than just get you into parties and clubs. There's more to that. And let me see if there's would you say, Phyllis?
Yeah, I don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. It's possible, yes. But that's what a lot of people think. They think that's what publicists do. That's all we do. We just get you on the red carpet and we blase, and we, get you in a party and, oh, my work is done. No. Right. It's so much more to it, and people just don't know, and that's why people need to be educated to understand what goes into it and the importance of having a publicist.
So there's a young lady or woman who may be over 40 and wants to try doing this. You know what I mean? What advice would you give her? What are some of the skill sets that she should own as she thinks about becoming a publicist?
Like I said, definitely learn how to write. Seriously. And if you can't write, make sure you have someone who will write for you. That would be a big step. Learn your media outlets, learn the contacts who are there because they leave. It's a high turnover. Know the format of these media outlets. If you have a chef and you want to pitch him, don't pitch a beauty outlet. I mean, you need to know. You have to study these media outlets. And seriously, Twitter is a great place to make relationships with the media. Follow these people. Follow them. Look at the news. When you watch the news, look at their Twitter accounts, their Instagram accounts. Follow them. Become their friends. Start conversations. Age. That's what you need to do. You have to engage today. You have to really make solid relationships because it's so many people doing the same thing. That's the plus. You have to have skin. Don't take anything personally. Don't let it go over you. Have thick skin. You have to be able to work from sun up to sundown. I'm serious about that. And you have to be able to, and you have to know when to say yes. And you have to have an just an open mind and a listening ear for your client. You have to have empathy. You have to build that relationship with your client as well. So there's a lot of relationship things, and you have to have that. You have to be willing to keep going. Don't give up. Figure out different angles. Think out the box, because that's what's going to make you stand out from other people. Just don't do the ordinary. Always try to do something different. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a lot more, but those to me are the most important things.
Well, one thing that I will say about you particularly is that, Phyllis, you can befriend anybody. You can walk in the grocery store, and by the time you leave, you know everybody in the grocery store. So I think as a publicist, that's a skill set that you have to have. You know what I mean? Like, you're able to talk to anybody, and you have this quality that just wins people over. And I just think that's something special. Would you say?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's the truth, though. It's very, very, it's very much the truth. Okay, so before we wrap up, I always like to end these conversations with just a few questions for you, my dear. And before I do that, real quick, let me see if anybody in the audience, if you guys have any questions, please, please, please write your questions down. You've got a publicist on here with over 25 years of experience in the game, honey. So if there's anything you want to know or need to know, let us know. Let us know. All right, Phyllis. So real quick, what is the best advice ever given to you, either personally or professionally?
Woo, that's funny. I was talking about that today. Honestly, the best advice given to me was by Sidney Poitier.
Oh, what? Hold on, y'all. She just gonna casually drop that name.
Sidney Poitier. This was the fun. He said to me, "You never know what people are going through, so treat each person accordingly. Treat everyone nice, and you just never know. You could go to a store and someone is ringing up your grocery or whatever, and their mom could have just died the day before, and they had to come into work. You never know what somebody's going through, so you always have to remember that when you're approaching someone, because you just don't know. You know how people say, well, I sent her a text, she never called, she never texted me back, or
right.
We were supposed to meet, and where is she? And the first thing we want to do is cop an attitude.
Negative.
But that person their car could have flipped over, and they could be, at the bottom of a mountain somewhere. You just don't know. Things happen, especially today. You just don't know what people are going through and what could be happening to someone. So you always have to take that into consideration. Get a quick call back, or if you don't get a call back immediately, or someone doesn't meet you somewhere, they could be gone. Where'd you go?
Can you see me?
You're like, where'd you go?
Oh, my battery was low on here, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes. No, that's so true, Phyllis. It's very true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still remember that to this day. And I always do that whenever I'm getting ready to get mad at somebody. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So yeah, it's a good one.
I love that. Okay. So somebody in the audience, Dr. Tracy, PhD. Hey, doctor. She wants to know, how did you get your client on the Oprah Winfrey show?
Oh, okay. So, I knew one of the producers, and I was trying to, and one good thing a publicist should always do is capitalize on awareness days. Those people, the media, they're always looking for things. There was a Mother's Day special that I found out Oprah Winfrey was doing, and I pitched. What I did was I said, now how can I do this? How can I make this work? Because Tommy, okay, loved his mother, adored her. Oh, I loved his mom so much. I said, well, you know what? Let me think out the box and let me be real creative. So what I did was Dr. Tracy, who used to be my client, she's a former client, on and off. I said, hey, let's do this. Tommy, let's get Dr. Tracy, because Dr. Tracy did Tommy's face as well. She's an esthetician. And I'm going to pitch you pampering your mom for Mother's Day. They went for it.
Thinking outside the box.
And that's how it happened. So Dr. Tracy, we went to the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and the camera crew was there. Everybody was there. We did this nice Mother's Day special. She gave the mom a facial. I think she gave Tommy a facial too. Yeah. And it was a nice beauty segment for Mother's Day. And that's how it happened. I capitalized on an awareness day.
I love it. Okay, another question. Someone said, how do you recommend improving your writing?
Take classes. It's really important. You can take journalism classes at a community college or workshops. There's so many ways. Another way, I know when I was in school, my professor used to always tell me to read. Just read, read. You know, nobody really reads newspapers anymore, but just read articles.
Everything.
And if you want to, you know, learn how to write the best press releases, look at these magazine shows. Look at the titles. Look at everything that they do. You know, when you write a press release, it has to be written. The title has like a newspaper title. It has to be eye-catching. It has to be there's so many different techniques, but definitely get the proper schooling first. And you can do that, like I said, at a junior college.
Okay. Do you need a degree? Do you need a degree to be a publicist?
You know what? Today, no. I worked hard for my degrees.
Right. Hello.
I went to school. I really think you should have one, because today a lot of publicists, they don't have the foundation, and schooling gives you the foundation. It really shows you how to be a writer, and the concepts, the foundation, you know, how to pitch, it's just the full on thing. And you don't get that when you just kind of jump into it. You can learn on the way. You can learn, you know, but it's different. It's really different when you get the schooling. Okay. So I say yes, get a degree, but you don't have to have one.
Okay. All right. So my last question, Miss Phyllis Cadell, what is your favorite quote or mantra that you live by?
What is my favorite quote? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what my favorite scripture is. And it's already said, but it's I can't entertain everyone, because you never know if you're entertaining an angel. Like, be to everyone, because you never know if you're entertaining an angel. So that's again kind of like what he said. It's like basically treat everybody the same. Treat everybody the same.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, before we leave, Miss Phyllis Cadell, I know that you have a new book coming out. Can you tell us about your book, where we can find it, all those good things? And y'all, give me 1 second while you do that, because I got to get my charger to make sure that we don't lose this. So hold on for 1 second and let the audience know where we can find all that. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm taking over at the Hey Lady Wind Down Wednesday.
Take over, Phyllis.
Next week, you can tune in to me. You can find I called do-it-yourself publicity for those too cheap or too broke to hire a publicist. That can be found on Amazon or my website. I have 2 books coming out this year. It's part 2 for do-it-yourself publicity, and is PR teachables. It's the do's and don'ts of PR. It deals more with, you know, being in ethics and public relations. You can pre-order now on my website for those. but they'll be out end of the year. Well, August and November. That's what they're scheduled for. So
all right. So give us your Instagram. You said, say this again. So is that, you said 3 books?
I said tree, not 3, tree.
All right, so let everybody know where they can find you. Give us your Instagram handle and also your website address so we can get these books.
Okay, Instagram is PCPR_communications agency. And then my personal is Phyllis Cadell. My website is pcpr.co. pcpr.co, not .com, .co.
.co. pcpr.co.
PCPR. Or same thing on Twitter, across the board, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Phyllis, look at us. We went to 5:45. See? It didn't even feel like it, did it? See?
Oh my goodness, did we? Oh God. You know what? This has been really fun because I'm rusty. So yeah, thank you for making me come on here because I'm always telling my clients, do this, do that on interviews, and I noticed that I did a few things that I tell my clients not to do. So I need to take over Wind Down Wednesday.
Well, you know what? Then you can fill in for me one Wednesday, honey, and do your own Wind Down Wednesday with your lady of the week. As a matter of fact, I need to get your sister on here. So Dana, hello. I'm coming for you. Because when I tell you her sister can sing, she can sing. She can't sing, she can sing. So we're going to have to get your sister in here. So anyway, Miss Phyllis Cadell. Huh?
That's so sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah. All right, girlfriend. Well, you know the drill. So go on, let's toast it out with your smoothie.
That's my meal for the day.
Clang.
Clang.
I'm going to drink this Stella Rosa because it's really good. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Phyllis, for joining us here in the Wind Down. Absolutely. Well, how about we do it again when your new book comes out, and then we can talk about your book.
Love it.
Love it? All right. Well, all right, you guys. That's it for another edition of Wind Down Wednesday with my fabulous lady of the week, Miss Phyllis Cadell, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will be back in 2 weeks with another phenomenal lady of the week, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, you guys know the drill. Being a lady never goes out of style. All right, Phyllis, I'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.